When it comes to the world of crime, people often think of bloody battles between powerful gangs, organizations running illegal activities from the darkest corners of society. However, few know that in that darkness, there are women who have risen and asserted their power, not only participating but also running notorious criminal empires. Las Patronas and Camorra Rosa. Two names not only linked to crime but also reflecting the strong rise of women in a world traditionally dominated by men. So, when these two organizations clash, could the differences in their methods and power create a unique war? Let us explore the secrets behind the success of Las Patronas and Camorra Rosa, as well as how they have taken over the underground world. When looking at the scope of operations of these two gangs, the first thing to note is how they build their power. Las Patronas, an important branch of the Mexican drug cartels, operates not only within the country but also has a vast influence across borders. From the impoverished areas of Mexico, they have expanded their activities into Central America, North America, and even Europe. Unlike other cartels, Las Patronas uses ruthlessness as an essential tool to assert their power, with attacks on rival enemies and bloody purges to consolidate their position. They control drug trafficking routes, coordinate cross-border transportation activities, and instill fear in their rivals. Massive drug deals are not all, as they also engage in human trafficking, weapons smuggling, and other illicit trades, creating a closed criminal network. However, Camorra Rosa is different. Their operational scope is not as broad as Las Patronas, but they are no less dangerous. As the female branch of the Camorra Mafia in Italy, they control areas in southern Italy, especially Naples. What sets Camorra Rosa apart is that they do not use direct violence to dominate territory like Las Patronas, but instead, they employ skillful tactics to build legitimate economic networks that conceal their illegal activities. From infiltrating the construction industry to controlling legitimate businesses, Camorra Rosa can launder money and expand their influence without being easily detected. In general, Las Patronas uses violent force to dominate territories, while Camorra Rosa applies a more covert and sophisticated strategy, focusing on building influence through legitimate channels and forming strategic relationships. This is the prominent difference in how they expand and maintain power. When we look at how criminal gangs operate, one crucial factor that cannot be overlooked is their organizational structure. Las Patronas and Camorra Rosa, although both criminal organizations led by women, have completely different ways of organizing power, reflecting the differences in their strategies and methods of operation. Las Patronas, with prominent figures like Maria, La Patrona, prides itself on a tightly knit organizational model that centralizes power. In this structure, power is clearly divided, with senior commanders playing a decisive role in strategic decisions. Their structure is almost like a military unit, with specific groups carrying out distinct tasks, but all working toward a common goal: maintaining and expanding power. At the top level, the female leaders of Las Patronas make strategic decisions and assign tasks to various groups. These groups may consist of individuals responsible for drug transportation, protecting trafficking routes, or even gathering intelligence from government agencies and law enforcement. The Territory Protection Group of Las Patronas can be considered one of the strongest teams. Always ready to confront any intruder head-on, they are not afraid to use violence to eliminate any threats from rivals, including other gangs and even law enforcement agencies. A distinctive feature of Las Patronas' structure is the combination of managing criminal activities and infiltrating government institutions. Members of the organization often pull in government officials, police, and even military personnel to serve their purposes. This is how Las Patronas protects itself from government crackdowns while maintaining the ability to expand its operations without detection. However, in an organization like Las Patronas, maintaining centralized power in the hands of female leaders is not always simple. Internal purges are not uncommon, as some members grow dissatisfied with the leadership or seek to seize power. These power struggles occur not only within the organization but may also lead to conflicts with larger cartels. Despite any instability, Las Patronas still manages to maintain stability and the fighting capability needed to preserve its position. In stark contrast to the centralized power structure of Las Patronas, Camorra Rosa adopts a more strategically decentralized approach. Although Camorra Rosa originates from a large criminal organization like the Camorra, they do not organize in a military style. Instead, they operate as a network of smaller groups, each with a certain level of autonomy but still adhering to the overall strategy of the organization. This structure not only allows flexibility in operations but also helps Camorra Rosa avoid close scrutiny from law enforcement agencies. Each smaller branch of Camorra Rosa specializes in a specific area, such as money laundering, trafficking goods, or overseeing legitimate criminal activities like restaurants and hotels, while the smaller groups have the freedom to make decisions within their domain. They are required to report to the senior leaders of Camorra Rosa, who hold the power to adjust strategies and make final decisions. A key strength in Camorra Rosa's organizational structure is the combination of legal and illegal activities. This allows them to maintain stability and minimize attention from authorities. The groups in the organization are very adept at carrying out financial transactions through legitimate businesses, thus creating a protective layer for illegal activities like drug and weapon trafficking. This integration makes Camorra Rosa a formidable opponent, as they can thrive and expand within both the criminal and legitimate worlds. Another important aspect of Camorra Rosa's structure is how they maintain relationships with international organizations. From South American drug cartels to Eastern European criminal groups, Camorra Rosa is always looking for ways to build underground alliances to protect their interests. Thanks to these connections, Camorra Rosa can expand their operations globally with fewer obstacles. However, like any organization, the more power is distributed, the greater the risk of internal conflicts. Although less discussed than Las Patronas, Camorra Rosa is not immune to power struggles when branches within the organization clash. When comparing the organizational structures of Las Patronas and Camorra Rosa, it is clear that these two organizations operate in completely different styles. Las Patronas takes the path of centralized power, operating through swift and decisive leadership from the top, while Camorra Rosa prioritizes flexibility and decentralization, allowing the organization to function in the shadows without drawing too much attention from the outside. The Las Patronas model is effective in maintaining immediate control over power and territory, but it also carries the risk of internal conflicts and power struggles when members are dissatisfied. In contrast, Camorra Rosa, with its decentralized structure and strategy of cooperation both within and outside the organization, can easily expand and protect its empire without facing direct scrutiny from external forces. So, can Las Patronas maintain its power while dealing with the risks of internal conflict? Or will Camorra Rosa continue to build its empire with its strategy of decentralization and the clever combination of legal and illegal activities? And will the differences in their organizational structures ultimately determine the winner in their confrontation? Let us continue to explore, as the next step will delve into the reputation and fear each organization has built within the criminal world. Las Patronas, one of the most notorious criminal organizations in Mexico, built its reputation not through cunning deals or sophisticated strategies, but primarily through its ruthlessness and cold-bloodedness in its operations. They do not hesitate to use direct violence to deal with anyone who dares to stand in their way. And even those within the organization are not allowed to betray them. When someone betrays the organization, the consequence is nothing short of brutal death. It is this savagery that has spread the name of Las Patronas not only throughout Mexico but also to other countries, where everyone knows that if you dare to challenge them, you will pay a heavy price. However, Las Patronas' reputation is not only built on violence. They also have a clever strategy in attracting the lower social classes into their network. By creating job opportunities and supporting the poor, they have built a protective cushion for themselves from the very people they control. This is a tactic that many other criminal organizations employ, but Las Patronas has done it more effectively, creating a solid network of community ties that helps them maintain power without facing threats. Nonetheless, Las Patronas' reputation has a significant weakness. The very brutality they display can become a double-edged sword. When your reputation is built on fear, losing control or failing to maintain terror will lead to a swift collapse. And in a world as volatile as the criminal underworld, nothing is permanent. Changes in the criminal environment could put Las Patronas at risk of falling if they are unable to sustain their power. While Las Patronas built their reputation through violence and brutality, Camorra Rosa follows an entirely different strategy. They are not tyrants who instill fear directly. Instead, they build their reputation through cunning and sophistication, hiding beneath the facade of legitimate activities. They don't need to display open savagery to maintain power. Camorra Rosa uses a blend of legal and illegal operations, which allows them to construct an extremely robust network without being detected. The reputation of Camorra Rosa is not based on strength or brutality, but primarily on their ability to manipulate and build connections. They infiltrate legitimate businesses like construction, hotels, restaurants, and even financial services. Through this, they can easily launder money and strengthen their influence without drawing excessive scrutiny from authorities. Their relationships with politicians, businessmen, and legal organizations are the key to maintaining power and influence within the community, something Las Patronas cannot achieve. The subtlety in Camorra Rosa's operations is their greatest weapon. By keeping their name out of the spotlight, they have successfully built an underground empire where everything is controlled without detection. This discretion has made Camorra Rosa a force to be reckoned with, earning the respect and fear of even larger criminal organizations. However, Camorra Rosa's method of building reputation is not without its risks. If their relationships are exposed or if an attack is made on their legal system, the entire empire could collapse in the blink of an eye. In this underground world, cunning is a double-edged sword. When facing external threats, can Camorra Rosa maintain this covert strategy? Or will their dependence on underground connections become their Achilles heel? When comparing these two organizations, a big question arises. Does the ruthlessness and violence of Las Patronas really prove more effective than the cunning and discretion of Camorra Rosa? One builds its reputation through bloody battles, while the other builds power through sophistication and legal networks. Las Patronas has proven that violence can create fear, but their reliance on brutality also brings a significant weakness, losing control when facing changes in the criminal landscape. On the other hand, Camorra Rosa shows that cunning and discretion can protect a criminal empire in the shadows. But they are not immune to the risk of exposure if their relationships fall apart. Will brutality or sophistication be the deciding factor in the confrontation between Las Patronas and Camorra Rosa? This not only depends on strength but also on the ability to maintain power over the long term in a volatile world, where each wrong move could be the final one. With these contrasting strategies, the competition between Las Patronas and Camorra Rosa promises to be a battle not only for power but also for how to maintain dominance in an underground world full of traps and instability. Las Patronas is not a criminal organization founded by men, but rather a group of women who initially participated in the logistical operations for Mexico's larger drug cartels. At first, they handled tasks such as drug transportation, intelligence gathering, and handling underground transactions. However, when the male drug lords of the cartels were arrested, killed, or overthrown in power struggles between rival gangs, these women saw a rare opportunity to step out of the shadows of men and seize control. Particularly in the social context of Mexico at the time, where power was almost exclusively held by men, it was unprecedented for a group of women to rise up and challenge the system. From there, Las Patronas began to build their own empire, no longer depending on the large cartels, but instead, they took control of drug trafficking routes, arms smuggling, and money laundering operations. With their brutality and cold-bloodedness in management, Las Patronas gradually became a symbol of power, not only in Mexico but also expanding into other countries. Their cleverness in drawing the lower social classes into the organization helped them maintain stability and build an unbreakable criminal network. However, their uncompromising nature in holding power also led Las Patronas to face bloody internal purges, where members of the organization were not hesitant to use violence to seize control. Camorra Rosa, while sharing some similarities in building power, followed a very different path. They started as a small faction within the Camorra, an ancient mafia organization in Italy. Known for its involvement in smuggling, protection rackets, and money laundering, the women in Camorra Rosa were initially just the wives or daughters of mafia leaders, and their roles were limited to managing finances and assisting the family with minor tasks. However, when the male leaders within the organization were arrested or killed in internal purges between rival mafia groups, These women realized that not only could they replace the male leaders, but they could also build their own empire. At that time, the Camorra didn't just control criminal activities in Naples, it also had far-reaching influence over other regions of Italy and even neighboring countries. The female leaders of Camorra Rosa began to forge relationships with legitimate organizations, such as construction companies, banks, and other lawful businesses, using them to conceal their illegal operations. This was a clever strategy by Camorra Rosa, as they knew how to blend legal and illegal activities, allowing the organization to survive and expand without being detected. While they didn't resort to direct violence like Las Patronas, Camorra Rosa was extremely skilled in using political and economic relationships to solidify their power. Their finesse in creating legal fronts helped them maintain long-term power in a society where criminal organizations are often exposed and dismantled. It is clear that while both Las Patronas and Camorra Rosa emerged from difficult circumstances and were marginalized by society, the paths they took to achieve power are entirely different. Las Patronas rose through relationships within the criminal world, using violence and internal purges to seize control. In contrast, Camorra Rosa was more sophisticated, leveraging power from Mafia families while also expanding their influence beyond the underground world through infiltration into the legitimate economy. This raises the question: can the brutality and continuous power struggles of Las Patronas sustain their empire in the long term? Or will Camorra Rosa continue to expand its power through legitimate relationships and more subtle strategies? It is certain that when talking about Las Patronas and Camorra Rosa, one cannot help but wonder whether the strategies each organization has chosen will be sustainable in the future. Las Patronas, with their brutality and direct power, have built a strong empire in the criminal world. But can violence really keep them standing in the long term as outside forces begin to challenge them? On the other hand, Camorra Rosa, with its clever and discreet strategy, has established a solid underground empire. But will their sophistication be enough to withstand sudden attacks from rival forces? Will the approach of violence or sophistication be the determining factor in the confrontation between Las Patronas and Camorra Rosa? And if there is a significant shift in the criminal landscape, will the differences in their histories and origins determine who will ultimately control the underground world? We'd love to hear your thoughts on this confrontation. Do you think the brutality of Las Patronas will help them maintain power in the long run? Or will the sophistication of Camorra Rosa be the deciding factor in this battle? Don't hesitate to leave your thoughts in the comments below. You can share your perspective on how these two gangs operate. And if you were in the underground world, which strategy would you choose to maintain power? Thank you for watching the video. And don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss out on more exciting videos, where we continue to explore the power forces in the criminal world.